franktalks.com.
Check out the Frank Talks Relationship column currently running in the Suburban Newspaper online magazine. To read more, please visit www.thesuburban.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating and relationships? Visit franktalks.com.
Remember to sign up for the Coping with Loss newsletter and get weekly supporting messages to help you manage your bereavement, grief, and mourning. You are not alone. Sign up at franktalks.com now.
Listen to The Barry Morgan Show, live weekdays noon to 3 on CJAD 800 and CJAD.com.
Time to talk about relationships on the show. Frank Kermit is sitting in for Dr. Lori Bettito, and he joins us now. Hi, Frank.
Hi, Ann. How are you?
Not too bad. Surviving. The holidays can be pretty intense.
The holidays can be very intense, a big time of reflection for many people.
Yeah, and a lot of pressure and stress for some people. And I think also a feeling of loneliness if you're far from your family or you've just lost a family member. So let's talk a little bit about, you wrote an article called Feeling Heavy-Hearted for the Holidays. Yeah. Tell us a little bit about what that was about.
Because the holidays is a time of reflection and there's all this expectation that you're going to be surrounded by joy and family and friends. Those individuals out there who, as you said, have either lost a loved one, maybe they're far from home, sometimes they're new immigrants to the country, away from the bulk of their family. It's not a pleasant time. They're not experiencing the joy usually associated with the holiday season. Sometimes it's just a matter that somebody's lonely. They may have just lost the primary relationship of their life. It could be their first holiday without their kids. And it's a very tough time when everybody around you and the message around you is, you should be happy. It's the happiest time. Joy, joy, joy. And you're not feeling it. You feel even more isolated.
So what should people consider doing to try and offset that feeling of being sort of isolated and cut off and a bit lonely or feeling sort of abandoned even?
One of the things that's very easy to do that does not help is continuing the isolation process. If you're already feeling isolated, it's so much easier to say, what's the point? I give up. Okay, I'll be alone for the holidays, and isolate yourself further. That's when you need to be the most proactive. If you happen to be alone during the holidays, find other people who are alone for the holidays, invite them over. Don't wait for someone else to save you. Save yourself and take a bunch of people along with you.
I know a friend of mine does a Christmas dinner for people who end up in Montreal on their own for whatever reasons. Maybe they're academics here for a brief stint or whatever reason they've got a brief posting here or something, and she brings them all together and hosts a dinner.
Exactly.
Which ends up being really a lot of fun. I went to it one year and I thought, wow, this is really phenomenal because people are there by choice. They really want to get to know you. There's a lot of really nice conversation. So I agree with you.
There's a lot of new people to meet. And if you happen to be lonely as well as alone for the holidays, there's a great opportunity right there. Make it a potluck. If you're short on funds and you can't host a huge party, ask everybody to bring a plate or a dish of something.
Or have a New Year's Eve open house or something like that.
Well, I wouldn't be so quick with the open house.
Come in for a drink kind of thing.
Maybe not. Are you inviting strangers into your home? I mean, I don't want to go that far, but within all of our social circles, everybody knows people who are on their own as well as yourself. So if you happen to be going to school, you mentioned coming into the country for studies, certainly there must be an International Students Association. Certainly there must be other international students who weren't able to go back home for the holidays. Reach out to them and say, hey, if you happen to be alone, why don't we spend the holidays together? Come on over, make a plate of something, cook something from a dish from your particular culture or heritage that you'd like to share. Those are the types of ideas we're looking at. Okay. But most important, don't allow yourself to be alone. You may not be able to help how you feel, but you have a choice as to whether or not you're going to spend the holidays alone.
Okay. And that article can be found where, Frank? Feeling heavy-hearted for the holidays.
If you go to the Suburban magazine, it's in the online magazine. It's also in the Suburban newspaper. And if you visit their website and type in heavy-hearted holidays, you'll find that they also put the article online at their website at thesuburban.com.
Okay. Now, sorry, just to mention, if you're interested in asking a question, asking Frank his opinion on something that's on your mind, you can either text us at 514-800 or you can give us a call at 514-790-0800. And on our list of subjects today, the signals sent by a kiss. What do you mean by that, Frank?
Okay, there was an article, a study done in Austin, Texas, called "The Signals Sent by a Kiss." It's all about the importance of kissing and how, you can taste someone's DNA in their saliva in their kiss, and they get into this really in-depth study. I don't know about that. I haven't really reviewed the study, so I cannot comment on it. What I can comment on is this: when you're on a date and it happens to be a mediocre date. It's one of those dates that ends where you say, I don't really have anything to hate about the other person. You go in for the kiss. And I always advise people, you go in for the goodnight kiss. Unless you're absolutely sure you would never want to see this other person again. You go in for that kiss. Because you want to find out as soon as possible, is there chemistry or is there no chemistry? Because a kiss will let you know. You may have had a mediocre date, a very boring date, but once you kiss somebody and the chemistry is there, boom, it changes everything, and you want to find that out. On the other hand, you might have had a really good time with somebody, and you find that you have so much in common, and you enjoyed the conversation, and you go in for that good night kiss, and nothing. And now you know, well, that was great, but it doesn't look like anything is going to come for that. At least you know. At least you know, and you have to be willing to take that chance. You got to be brave.
Well, and that's the next question I had. So what if you're kind of chicken? You think, oh, that's a little bold. That's too bold for me. I don't think I can do that.
Then you might want to reevaluate while you're going out on dates. Look, if you want to get into a relationship, and I'm not talking about just going out and hooking up. If you want to end up in a relationship somewhere, you got to be brave. Relationships is no place for cowards. When you're in a relationship, you're going to have to learn to assert yourself, communicate what you need, ask for what you want. Assert a boundary even if the person you're with is doing something that you're not too comfortable with. If you're going to be a coward about that stuff and you're too chicken to even just go for what you want, like a good night kiss at the end of a date, maybe you need to consider that getting involved with other people is not for you.
Well, maybe can't you just give them a kiss on the second date?
My attitude is nobody has that kind of time to waste anymore. There's too much choice. Look, nobody has the time to waste, okay? You got people who are trying to build careers, trying to figure out if they still want families, still trying to learn about themselves. They don't have time to wait 3 years, 3 months, or whatever to figure out if they should continue to see somebody. That's the most unethical thing a person can do. Staying in a relationship they don't want to be with. Not even for the other person, but for themselves as well. You don't waste your time with people that you don't see yourself with long term.
Somebody texted in on the whole question of being heavy-hearted at Christmas, saying the United Church holds a pre-Christmas blue Christmas service for those who are not having a holly jolly time. Like there are various organizations and institutions who recognize this problem.
Absolutely wonderful.
Okay, so my guest is Frank Kermit. We're talking about relationships in this segment of the program. If you have a question or a comment, you can call us at 514-790-0800, or you can, of course, text us at 514-800. So what about those people who are lonely hearts thinking they might want to start looking around in 2015, like trying to get out there? What's your advice for those people, Frank?
Then just take action. Stop waiting around for love to come to you. Go after it. And this is advice across the board, across the genders even. Don't wait for it to come to you. If you want someone in your life, go after that. Set it as a goal. Go out to every event you can to meet somebody. Involve your family. Talk to your family and friends and say, hey, I would really like to meet somebody. Do you know anybody else who may be looking that I might be interested in? I'm looking for someone who, and then start listing a couple of the criteria that you're looking to meet.
Sort of like looking for a job.
Exactly. And if people took it as seriously, you would have a lot less lonely people out there.
And what are some of the, like, we have the mention of this this pre-Christmas Blue Christmas service for people who aren't feeling so upbeat about the holidays. But what would be some prime places that people could do what you're talking about?
Okay, one of the first ways that you can meet somebody is through family and friends. Just let everybody know you want to meet someone, and there's a catch. No matter who they bring to you, you have to be willing to go out on one date. Because the minute they say, well, you know what, I know somebody, maybe I should see if that person's interested. If you refuse to even go on one date, the person who did the recruiting for you will say, I'm not going to set somebody up to be rejected again.
What about being set up? Like, do you advocate that? Like, let's
100%.
say, yeah,
100%. Look, there was a time when there wasn't social media available. There was a time when people were very limited into who they could possibly date. If you lived in a tiny little village and you didn't travel much, there's only so many people from that circle that you'd be able to have a relationship with that you weren't related to.
We're talking about relationships with Frank Kermit, who's sitting in for Lori Bettito, clinical psychologist and host of Passion. And somebody texted in to say, kissing someone to find out if there's chemistry is only going to tell you if you have sexual chemistry, and that's it. Shallow at best, says Sean.
Shallow, but still important nonetheless. How many couples are struggling because they have a sexless marriage? And then they go into counseling and say, well, what can we do? You might want to find that out as soon as possible. And if at least you have the sexual chemistry going, you at least know that that's taken care of.
What about single and 33? Is it too late?
It's not too late. However, the statistics do show that she has a few challenges ahead of her.
What do you mean she? What about he?
Not as much, because he doesn't have the same biological clock. He still has a few options that she doesn't, and it's unfortunate, but that's what we look at, and that's what we see in the statistics.
But women are having children later and later.
They are
establishing serious relationships later and later, not unlike men, I think.
But there's a difference in the ability to find a partner who's willing. It's not a question of her ability to bear children. Can she find a partner who is willing to start a family with someone who's also older?
I say throw the statistics overboard and do what feels right. That's what I say.
To a point. Look, I work as a coach in a matchmaking company, in a matchmaking agency.
Really?
And it's much harder to find a woman, a partner, a match for a woman who's older. It's not impossible. Just to be clear.
How do we define older, Frank?
Older meaning, let's say, over 35. Between 35 and 42, it is actually a little bit more challenging for a woman to find a partner, because at that point, she's looking to get serious right away and have children right away. And that extra pressure actually scares away potential mates.
Yeah, but what if she's not looking to get serious and have children right away?
At that point, it would be a little bit easier.
Okay. So you ask, I mean, presumably if you're doing matchmaking, you're checking to see what people are after.
You're looking and you say, we want to know what it is you want. Yes or no. Do you want to have children or not? And the worst thing you can say is undecided. Because as soon as someone sees undecided, they're going to interpret it in the worst possible way that would turn them off.
Let's go to the phone lines. Hi there.
Hi, I just wanted to know about the Blue service. You mentioned that. I only caught part of that.
It was a text that somebody sent in saying that the United Church holds a pre-Christmas Blue Christmas service for those who are not having a holly jolly time.
Oh.
So presumably if you contact one of the United Churches in town, they can tell you more.
And your guest, he says it up to 40. What about a woman 60?
Frank?
I can tell you now that if you're a woman who's 60, you will find people looking to have companionship. Okay, so that is possible.
Okay.
You may not have someone who's willing to marry you, move in with you, merge assets with you at that point. But there are men who are interested in dating women who are 60, who are 70. They may be a little bit older. That's usually the way the statistics work. You're looking at men who are about, let's say, 10 years older. And it is possible. Everybody does want to find love. Everybody does want to find companionship. But you also have to be very clear about what you will and will not accept, and make sure to communicate that.
Well, would you believe I was seeing a man 43, and I'm 68?
I do believe it. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying that if you want a serious relationship that would lead to marriage or something of that nature, that's where you have a bit more of a struggle.
Thank you very much.
Thanks
All the
for
best.
calling. Interesting. Thanks for that call. We're talking about relationships with Frank Kermit, including taking a break from your relationship. So when somebody says, I need some space, I need some time, I need a break.
We're talking about a big red flag. And I can tell you now, when I do couples counseling, taking a break is never a good thing.
Never?
I have not seen it help one couple as of yet. Not one. Here's what usually happens. The couple that's together think, well, maybe we should just take a break. Here's what's going to happen. Every other person that has been interested in dating one of you is going to make their move. And although most couples go into the break saying, we're not dating anybody else, okay, we're each going to focus on our own stuff and try to work this through, eventually loneliness kicks in. And somebody within the couple goes on a quote-unquote innocent coffee date, just a meeting, just to hang out. The other person finds out, and then it becomes this big, what's the word I'm looking for? It just becomes this big competition. Oh yeah? Well, you went on a coffee date with so-and-so, and I know that you know that so-and-so is interested in you. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing. And the next thing you know, somebody or both of them get involved with new people.
And is it possible to successfully get back together even though that's happened?
Sometimes it can. It depends on what the issue was that broke them apart. What was the triggering point? What was that extra pressure? Now, if you can deal with that, then yeah, it is possible to find your way back. Because those quote-unquote relationships they're getting into, those new ones, usually they're just flings. Usually they're just something temporary, a distraction. Sometimes a way to appreciate your original partner. But not always. Because the real, like all these breakups, these breaks that people take, they're symptoms of a greater issue. And if you don't deal with that main issue, getting back together just because you feel bad or guilty for having had a fling on a break doesn't make it work.
And what about this article called 5 Things I Gave Up for a Man? Tell us a little bit about that. On the face of it, it doesn't sound so great. On giving things up for somebody sounds problematic to me. But
okay, first of all, I really didn't like this article per se, because the author of the article, a woman, saying, I gave up 5 things foolishly for a man. The things that she gave up aren't necessarily bad things to give up if you're with the right person. However, there are certain things you never give up. You never give up your voice. That's one of the things she gave up. She gave up her voice or her willingness to have an opinion. You don't give that up regardless of your gender. If you're going to get into a relationship, you need to maintain your own voice because there are certain things that are important to you. Nobody can manipulate you, nobody can hurt you, nobody can pull your strings if you know what your boundaries are and you stick to your own rules. This is why I said relationships are not for cowards. If you are not willing to step up and say, look, this is where I draw the line on certain things, then you will not be happy in relationships. You can't just expect that the other person is going to be nice and sweet and always do things to make you happy.
Or read your mind.
Or read your mind. Thank you. You said it better than I could have. So in terms of what this particular article was saying, I gave up my friends, I gave up my family. Well, let's be clear here. If you're going to get into a serious relationship with somebody, your friends and family cannot be more important than your life partner. Now, if you do that, if you make your friends and family more important than your life partner, that will guarantee a separation down the road. That's going to guarantee a divorce.
News Talk Radio, CJAD 800, CJAD.com.
Stop being single. Remember to sign up for the Stop Being Single newsletter and get weekly tips about how to stop being single and how to start up a love life. Sign up at franktalks.com now.
Check out the Frank Talks Relationships column currently running in the Suburban Newspaper online magazine. To read more, please visit thesuburban.com.
Need help with love, sex, dating, or relationship issues? Help from Frank Kermit, the best-selling author and Canada's most international relationship coach, is only a click away at franktalks.com.
Remember to sign up for the Speed Dating Advice newsletter and get weekly tips to increase your matches. Learn every speed dating secret that speed dating companies don't want you to know. Sign up at franktalks.com now.